You've been hypnotized, not by a magician, not by some shady guru, by words, simple, repeated words, tricky mantras. Money doesn't bring happiness. Better safe than sorry. Rich people are greedy. Sound familiar? These are the silent scripts playing in the background of your life. And they're not harmless. Here's the truth. These mantras are not wisdom. They're sabotage. Subtle, sneaky, and socially accepted forms of mental programming that shape your beliefs about wealth, risk, and what you're allowed to become. Ever wonder why some people can't seem to break out of paycheck-to-paycheck living, no matter how hard they try? It's not always about discipline. It's not about education. Sometimes, it's about the invisible phrases running the show, those tricky mantras. They're buried in your brain, installed by parents, teachers, media, and culture, and they are still running the show. In this video, we're going to expose them. One by one, we'll unpack how they worm into your subconscious, how they shape your self-worth, and, most importantly, how to break free from their grip. Because once you identify the tricky mantra controlling your financial story, you can rewrite the whole damn script. And if this message already hit a nerve, stick around. It's going to get deeper. Way deeper. Tricky mantras are the phrases you've heard so often, they feel like common sense. They sound harmless, even wise. But they're not. They are social hypnosis disguised as advice. Little verbal viruses passed down through generations, coded into childhood bedtime stories, school lessons, TV shows, and casual conversations. Money is the root of all evil. Don't aim too high or you'll be disappointed. If you're born poor, you'll die poor. Each of these phrases sounds familiar. Each one wears the costume of truth. But underneath, they carry fear, shame, and resignation. They teach us to settle, to play small, to fear ambition. And they create internal conflict. We want success, but deep down, we believe it's wrong to pursue it. That's what makes them tricky. They don't sound like enemies. They sound like your mom, your favorite teacher, a quote from a movie you loved, a pastor, a politician. Tricky mantras aren't shouted, they're whispered. So often that you don't even notice them anymore. But they are running the script behind your decisions, especially financial ones. And unless you expose them, you'll keep repeating the story they wrote for you, a story that isn't even yours. So let's break the illusion. Let's redefine truth. Tricky mantras don't just float around in the air, they embed themselves deep in your subconscious. Most of them got there before you even had a choice. You were a sponge, absorbing everything from parents, teachers, TV shows, cartoons, even overheard adult conversations. At that age, you weren't filtering, you were imprinting. Your brain, especially in childhood, is wired for survival. So when someone you trust says something like, "People like us don't get rich," your brain doesn't question it, it saves it, stores it, believes it. That phrase becomes a rule, a limitation. And because it was absorbed so early, it feels like your voice now. Fast forward, you're an adult. You want more. You want success. But every time you get close to opportunity, something pulls you back. Self-sabotage, indecision, fear disguised as logic. That's the tricky mantra at work. Not in your conscious mind, in the software running silently underneath it. And it's reinforced every time you hear it again, in a meme, a movie, a conversation with a friend. Your brain collects proof to back up the belief. Confirmation bias kicks in. And just like that, the mantra tightens its grip. This is how beliefs become barriers. Invisible, emotional concrete. But here's the kicker. If a belief was learned, it can be unlearned. If it was programmed, it can be reprogrammed. Once you become aware of the mantra, you can question it, challenge it, and replace it. Not with fake positivity, but with language that empowers. That expands possibility instead in workplace gossip that glorifies hustle, but mocks true ambition. The phrases shift, but the message stays the same. Stay small, stay safe, stay average. And here's the hard truth. You think you're making free choices, but you're not. You're following a mental script written by voices that aren't even yours. Let's talk about Sarah. She grew up hearing, "We're just not the kind of people who make money." It was said with a laugh, a sigh, a shrug. But it stuck. She worked hard, went to college, got a job. But every time she got close to leveling up, asking for a raise, starting a business, something stopped her. Anxiety, doubt. Who do I think I am? Then one day, she wrote that sentence down. We're just not the kind of people who make money. And she saw it for what it was. A tricky mantra. Not a truth, a trap. She replaced it with, I create value. I deserve abundance. And everything shifted. She negotiated a better salary, started freelancing, eventually launched a side business. Not because the mantra disappeared, but because she stopped believing it. Now meet Andre. Andre always heard, better safe than sorry. So he never took risks. He passed on investments. He avoided change, played it safe. Until one day he realized that playing it safe was costing him more than any mistake ever did. That safety was his cage. He changed it to, I make informed decisions and grow through action. That new mantra, it gave him permission to try, to fail forward, to actually move. These aren't success fairy tales. These are real rewrites. People waking up from hypnotic language and choosing new scripts. And maybe you recognize your own story in theirs. Maybe you've been running on someone else's lines. And here's the punch. If a single phrase can hold you back for decades, imagine what the right one could unlock, because you're not trapped. You're just rehearsing old words. And it's time to rewrite the script. Because here's the truth. Your financial story isn't fixed. It's flexible. But only if you dare to edit the lines you've inherited. Tricky mantras. Don't just live in your family. They thrive in the culture around you. Ever notice how movies love to paint rich people as villains? Or how news stories sensationalize financial success with suspicion? How did they get that much money? It's subtle, but powerful. Culture doesn't just entertain, it educates. It teaches you what's normal, what's safe, and what you should fear. Politicians weaponize tricky mantras too. The rich are the problem. If someone wins, someone else must lose. These phrases simplify complex systems into emotional narratives. They divide. They distract. Even in marketing, tricky mantras are everywhere. Don't miss out. You need this to be enough. Fear, shame, and scarcity served on repeat. And the more you hear them, the more they sound like common sense. But these mantras don't reflect truth. They reflect agenda. And the more you absorb them unconsciously, the more likely you are to adopt beliefs that limit your financial potential without even realizing it. The message is clear. Question everything. Especially the phrases repeated the most, because repetition doesn't make something true. It just makes it familiar. And familiar is exactly how these tricky mantras sneak in and silently take control. Even the self-help world isn't immune. When gurus say, just manifest it, without addressing mindset blocks or systemic issues, they're layering new mantras over old ones, without clearing the root. Replacing tricky mantras with empowering beliefs. So how do you break the spell of a tricky mantra? You replace it with something stronger. Not with fluffy affirmations, not with fake optimism, but with intentional language backed by neuroscience. Your brain is plastic. It rewires through repetition and emotion. That's how the old mantras got installed, and it's how you'll replace them. Start here. Identify one mantra that's been running your life. Write it down. Look at it. Feel how it has shaped your choices. Then rewrite it. For example, money is the root of all evil becomes money is a magnifier. It reflects who I choose to be. Better safe than sorry becomes courage is calculated. Growth requires risk. If you're born poor, you'll die poor becomes I'm not my past. I create my future. And then repeat out loud, daily, with energy. You're not just saying words. You're training your nervous system to expect more, believe more, allow more. Want to go deeper? Attach action. Say the new mantra and take a step. Send the email, make the call, open the account. Every action reinforces the new belief. This isn't just mindset work, it's behavioral neuroscience. You're rewiring the mental script, line by line, loop by loop. And when your inner language changes, your external results follow. So don't just break the mantra, overwrite it. Because the most powerful phrase you'll ever say isn't, "I wish," it's, "I decide." And that decision starts with the story you repeat to yourself. Say it again, write it again, live it again, until it becomes your new default. That's how belief becomes reality. That's how wealth begins. Most people wait to feel ready before changing how they speak about money. But readiness is a lie. Action creates readiness, and language creates action. You don't wait to believe, you train belief. You don't wait to feel worthy, you declare worth. You've seen how tricky mantras shape your story. So here's your challenge. Identify one, replace it, drop it in the comments. What belief are you rewriting today? If this video sparked something, like it, share it, and subscribe to Zero to Wealth. Your next breakthrough could start right here, because the words you repeat matter. And today, you get to choose better ones. Rewrite the script. Live the upgrade.